You're listening to the Pigskin Cafe, a podcast covering the wild world of college football. On tap for today are hot takes, controversy, and analysis on your favorite team. Here's your host, Hampton Sipper, in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in to the Pigskin Cafe. My name is Hampton Sipper, and joining me tonight are my bestest of friends, Graham Haney and Chase Haney, and we're going to be previewing Week 6 of college football. But before we get into that, quick housekeeping reminders. Be sure to subscribe to the Pigskin Cafe if you haven't already. Leave us a like and leave us a comment and hit that notification bell. Be sure to follow us on social media as well. We enjoy hearing from all of y'all throughout the year, and it's been a joy to kind of go on this journey with you because, Chase, you kind of mentioned in the last podcast, this has been an incredible year of college football thus far. Very 2007 feel, may I say, with a lot of parity, no real dominant team, but we're halfway through. This is the halfway point after this week. Almost everybody will have played 6 games. And the games we're going to talk about this weekend, kind of preview for you, we've got Oklahoma, Texas. We've got Mizzou, LSU, Georgia versus Kentucky, Ole Miss versus Arkansas, Notre Dame versus Louisville, and then finally we're going to camp out a little bit, have a little bit more of an in-depth preview on Alabama versus Texas A&M. So we're ready to dive in. Chase, I'm going to throw it over to you to guide the conversation, brother.
Awesome, man. Did such a great job previewing that for us. I was kind of thinking, hey, you're kind of like the travel agent, that gets everything in order, does the intro, but hey, I'm the tour guide, man. I'm boots on the ground over here. So let's go start seeing the trails. So, hey, let me give you a little bit of context. Living in the great state, or some people might even think country of Texas, depending on if you live here or you don't live here. But Oklahoma versus Texas, what's fun about that game, it's the Red River Showdown. It's played here in Dallas. We've talked about on this podcast how Dallas doesn't really have – they love college football but don't have that team to go watch. So moments like this and moments like last week when Arkansas and A&M played here are big. So people show up. They get really excited. And this game is played at the State Fair, which just adds to the excitement at the old Cotton Bowl. So with that context, Texas is coming in. Both these teams undefeated? That's right. Both of them are undefeated, which makes this a really fun Big 12 matchup. I'm almost trying to think of not former, but this is the last time they'll match up as Big 12 contenders. So with that being said, just kind of give me your general thoughts on the game and we'll keep moving. So Hampton, what's your thoughts on Oklahoma versus Texas this week?
Well, as a college football fan, games like this are what make college football. And this is an overarching thing, but this past weekend with the rivalry games that we had and then this one, you just don't get that in the NFL. You have rivalries, you have division opponents, but the pageantry, the tradition, the true hate for one another for that whole week kind of leading up, you just can't replicate that. And Oklahoma, Texas has had some really good games over the past few years. Last year notwithstanding. Last year was an abhorrent game with Texas beating the absolute tar out of Oklahoma. It's going to be a little different this year because, like you said, Chase, both teams are coming in undefeated for the first time since 2009, which had Colt McCoy and I believe Landry Jones because Sam Bradford got hurt in the first game that year. So, really intriguing matchup. I would love to pick Oklahoma here because Oklahoma's offense has been humming. Their defense is incredibly improved from last year where it was just an outright joke. I mean, them and LSU of this year, they could have a jockeying for which one was worse. So they're much improved. Dylan Gabriel on offense has been really, really good for them. But I just think Texas is a better team. I think they have something to prove. They're on a mission this year. And other than the Wyoming game directly after the Alabama game, I mean, they went to Baylor, took care of business. They took care of business against Kansas, even though that game was closer throughout and probably would have been a little bit of a different ball game if Jalen Daniels had played. I think this will be a close one, but in the end, I think Texas and Sark and Quinn Ewers get the job done. But it's going to be a fascinating game, 11 o'clock kick at the OG Cotton Bowl. Cannot wait to watch and see how this one unfolds. And Graham,
what
what
do
do
you
you
think?
think of the game?
We usually go back to Chase and then come back to me, so it's fine. I'll take it. Hampton, you were talking about this might be Texas' year. I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma.
Oh, spicy, baby. I like it.
I think this is one of those games where Texas has been hyped very, very high. They did go on the road, take care of business in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. But when you look at the offensive, just the offensive plays from that game, Quinn Ewers got every play right. They were just
Don't remind me.
they were just on it. I think against Oklahoma, I think they don't. I don't think they get every play right. Hampton, you talk about Oklahoma's defense being better, but Oklahoma's offense, they're scoring like almost 48 points a game. So Oklahoma's got an offense that's going to say, hey, we might not be able to stop you every time, but we're going to put the pressure on your offense to keep up with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might go in Oklahoma's favor. And, just in this season, they're going, to Dallas to play. Texas is going to be I wouldn't say the heavy favorite, but a big favorite in this one. Just from the pickers, I think the line's 6.5, so Texas by a touchdown. I think Oklahoma might eke this one out and win by a field goal. But Dylan Gabriel's having a great season. They're scoring a lot of points. I think that Texas is they're good, and obviously Texas more than capable of winning this game. And I'm just picking Oklahoma just to kind of spice things up, make things a little more fun.
I like it.
Because I think there's an actual shot that Oklahoma can win this one.
Absolutely.
And this is, again, Texas going on, back on the road. Will they be able to answer the call? And, I'll take Oklahoma in a close one.
I like it. Hey, let's keep moving right along. We got Missouri versus LSU. Graham, I want to start with you. We can kind of rattle off these if you want to. But Mizzou versus LSU, which obviously LSU's coming off a loss. So he's looking good, kind of one of your teams. Do you think they can get it done on Saturday?
As they say, scared money don't make money.
Come on, baby.
Mizzou. I think this one,
like
Missouri's defense, better than people give them credit for. They've already played a big home game earlier in the season against a good Kansas State team, and eked that one out. They had a sold-out crowd. The crowd made a difference. I think this game be the exact same way. Going to Columbia, another back-to-back road games and tough environments for LSU. But right now, what does LSU have to play for? After that big loss to Ole Miss, they've kind of been embarrassed. They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. What are you going to do to respond? I think Mizzou sneaks up on them and takes care of business. I'm taking two teams in a row that are underdogs by 7 points, and I'm picking them to win. Scared money don't make money. Ain't that right, Hampton?
I'm feeling a parlay coming along.
Yes, sir.
You probably think I'm going to pick LSU, but I am absolutely not. Mizzou. Give me the Missouri Tigers to spring the upset at home, not only because it makes them more spicy, makes them more fun. I legitimately think Missouri has a clear path to victory. You mentioned their defense, much better than they are given credit for, especially that defensive line. I think they can maybe not completely halt the LSU attack, but they can stymie them, make it a little more difficult on them. Probably have a better defense than Ole Miss, if we're being quite honest. And on the opposite side of the ball, Missouri's offense has been rolling, man. Brady Cook has been on an absolute tear, going back to the Kansas State game, to Memphis, to this week versus Vanderbilt. He's been playing out of his mind, both as a runner and as a passer. That's going to add more stress to that LSU defense, and they're going to have to account for Luther Burden, who is top 3 in the country in receiving yards. Very explosive player, and I'll leave you with this stat. LSU has given up 155 points, I believe is the number, through 5 games this year, which is the second most in school history. The first or the highest that they've ever given up through 5 games was in 2020. What else happened in 2020? They went to Mizzou and took an L. They're taking another L this Saturday. Give me Mizzou to win, to go 6-0 into next weekend. They have a big matchup with Georgia. Cannot wait for that one.
Awesome. Hey, one of those fun games, sneaky games that, yeah, if you're LSU, you know this is a big trap game. So
you got to win this one if you're LSU.
Got to win.
Got to win it.
You're nervous going in there, knowing you got to win, and they would enjoy nothing more than ruining your whole schedule. So, hey, this is going to be a game, fellas. We talked at last pod about the chink. Is that how you say that word? Chink in the armor? Yeah, I don't know. I was like,
got it, baby.
For some reason that didn't sound right. Chink in the armor.
It's not like mustarding up the strength or anything like that.
See, and I wonder if it was one of those words that, when you're in the South, you just kind of repeat it how it was said around you, and you never knew that there was actually another word for it. So chink in the armor for UGA. Graham, let me start with you. Do you think that Mark Stoops and his team can expose but also take advantage of UGA's weaknesses and maybe get a few balls go their way?
I definitely think they can. You look back against Auburn last week, Georgia really struggled to stop the run, gave up over 200 yards. What does Kentucky love to do? And the pregame talk that Mark Stoops had, so they wanted to get back to running the football. I think that Devin Leary making big plays at quarterback. Line is Georgia minus 14.5. I don't think Kentucky pulls this one off, but to me, this is a 7-point game. This is one of those where, low scoring, Kentucky just, keeps pounding. Georgia just ekes it out in the end. I'll take Georgia because they're at home by 7 points.
What happened to scare money don't make money, Graham? Come on, man. I thought we were about to go for the trifecta of underdogs.
I know.
Well, before I make my pick for this game, I need to correct myself. Mizzou does not play Georgia next week. They play Kentucky next week. So I wanted to get that on the record, that goof on my part, but I had to clear that for the record.
Wait, what just happened?
Huh?
Wait, what just happened?
So I said that Mizzou, after they played LSU, played Georgia next week. Oh. They actually play Kentucky next week,
gotcha.
Which actually I think is good for Mizzou that they don't play Georgia next week after this LSU game. I think that's a good thing for them.
I'm sorry. I thought that you just informed us that we've just picked 2 games that aren't happening this week.
No. We're good.
Hey, listeners,
we're good.
Thank you for hanging in here. We're all on the same page. These games are happening this weekend. So, Hampton, who do you think is going to win between the University of Kentucky and the University of Georgia in Athens?
Yeah, that was a grade A-level podcasting right there, folks, that last minute and a half right there. I'm going to go Georgia as well, Graham. I want to pick Kentucky. I think they're going to have success running the ball with Ray Davis. I mean, what they did to Florida should be illegal in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. But Georgia is a different animal than Florida. Florida is a different team away from the swamp. And Devin Leary, really a shocking development this year. He's not played well. He did not play well against Florida. Graham Mertz vastly outplayed him. He was 9 of 19 for like 69 yards or something like that. I don't think that's going to be good enough to beat Georgia. I think you got to have that balance, even though Auburn didn't. I think at home you're going to have to do that to beat Georgia, and he's got to show me before I believe in it. So give me Georgia to win this one. Kind of have, a kind of a get-right game, kind of a, we're still Georgia game from them. Georgia by 10-13.
Wow. What do you think?
I picked Georgia by 7.
I'm sorry. The intermission, the flashing of the lights has gotten me thrown off. Hey, well, let's keep moving, Graham. If you don't got anything to say, I guess we'll just move right along. If you don't want to answer the question.
Why are you sidestepping it, Graham?
Yeah.
I was, just start talking about the economy or something like that. Just sidestep and start talking about something that you agree with. Let's talk about Ole Miss, Arkansas. And we previewed this one, so I don't know if there's really much to say. Just in the last pod, we kind of said Arkansas is beat up. I guess, do you think that they rebound at all? Do you think this game's close or not might be the right question. So, Graham, I'll start with you. If you actually want to talk this time, it'd be a great time to chime in. What do you think about this Ole Miss-Arkansas game? You betting for the underdog?
Not on this one. We talked about it just for briefly last pod. I think that Arkansas's path to win this game does not rely on them playing well. It relies on Ole Miss playing really poorly. I think that the weapons and the utilization of weapons goes in Ole Miss's favor heavily, but Pete Golding is the defensive coordinator, so it is bound to be a close game regardless of the score. I think Ole Miss is going to eke this one out in the fact that Ole Miss is going to probably come in not sleeping because it's a 6:30 kickoff, but they're going to kind of come in off the high beating LSU, and now they're playing, we're playing Arkansas, which is not one of the payback games that they could really get excited for the next week. I'm going to go Ole Miss. The line is Ole Miss by 11. I'll take Ole Miss by 2 touchdowns. I think that they pull away late and make the difference. Quinshot Judkins coming back, really playing well last week. I think it's going to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, I like that. I'll just throw this in there real quick that I just, Graham, like you said, Pete Golding calling defense, if he had his way, he'd probably not put a spy on KJ Jefferson just because he's Pete Golding this game. So just to have to learn the lesson real good. But Hampton, anything that you'd add, or do you want us to keep moving?
Yeah, Arkansas is coming in wounded. I do think this has potential to be a fun game. In 2021, the Arkansas-Ole Miss game was very reminiscent of the LSU-Ole Miss game. High scoring, back and forth. Ole Miss came out on top. Prime time in Oxford. I think this game will kind of show you a little bit of if Ole Miss is kind of matured, coming off a big win. This is a team you should take care of business against. Do you do that, or do you let them hang around and kind of eke out a win, like Graham said? But give me Ole Miss. I think Arkansas is just in a bad way right now, especially with Haas being out. So give me the Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Let me just touch this game. I want you to vote with your thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think that Notre Dame, are they built for moments like this? They played Ohio State, Duke, going into Louisville. They've covered some ground now. Do you think that they're built for moments like this? They take care of business. You can vote with your hand. All right, we got both yeses. All right, so Notre Dame's going to walk away with
it. Shout out Kyle Edwards.
That's right. Yeah. Shout out Kyle Edwards, long-time listener.
Long time.
Former contributor. COVID survivor. Educator.
Yeah. Coach. Friend. Mentor.
Inspirer. Mentor.
Influencer.
I hope he listens all the way through this just to hear us talk about his boys, man, just uplift him as a man. So
absolutely,
that's the guy I'd want coaching my boys, So all right, the game that we really want to just kind of park the bus, talk about for a second, is this Bama Texas A&M game. And fellas, Tyler Anderson, who's been on this podcast before, big A&M fan, came up to me and said, "Hey, we're really good on offense and really good on defense." And I was like, here we go. Here comes this game. And playing in College Station, which does not help Alabama.
No.
Graham, there's probably some venting that I need to do, so that means I need to pass the microphone as quickly as possible. How do you see this game going down? Take it whatever direction you want to, because the possibilities of how this game goes down feel like they're endless to me. So, Graham, take it whatever direction you feel appropriate. Hampton, you'll have the same question right after him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that my gut is telling me that this is going to be one of those just dirty, just bloody games, just both defenses mauling the other offense. And so it's going to be low scoring, one of those 20-17 type of games, 2016 type of games, where it's just who makes the big play in special teams, and not necessarily turns to kick for a touchdown, but who gets that 40-yard punt return and really flips field, and that allows their offense to score a touchdown. I think that's what my gut's telling me the way this game's going to go. But there's also a lot of times whenever my gut's telling me, oh, this is going to be low scoring because both defenses are good, that both offenses just blow up and it's a 45-38 game. But I'm going to go with the 20-17. I think Alabama is going to win by a field goal, just in the simple aspect of Max Johnson is the number 2 guy for A&M. He looked all right against Arkansas, but 3 years ago, whenever he was the quarterback for LSU, and they played Alabama, it was another close game. If you look back in 2021, Alabama beat LSU 20-14, maybe.
That's
20,
correct.
20-14.
Yep.
It wasn't Tuscaloosa, but Max Johnson was not very efficient. And I think that probably is the same thing that's going to happen here. He's not very elusive. I think that's going to help Alabama's defensive line get to him. I think that Milroe's ability to at least escape the pocket is going to put A&M on edge in the sense that their defensive line is very good. And if you're just able to get past Nolan Smith, maybe you can break one big and tire him out if the quarterback can always run. I think that might also lead to A&M putting a spy on there on Milroe, so then they can only rush 3 or 4, and then there's some open men in coverage. I think this is going to be, to me, this game is going to be the definition of Tommy Rees's offense and what it's going to be for the rest of the season. Is it going to be efficient and effective and go on the road to play at a tough place in Kyle Field against A&M? I'll take Alabama by 3 in a close game.
This game is fascinating. I mean, it is, in my opinion, the hardest game Alabama has left on their schedule. I think it mainly because it is in College Station, but also Texas A&M is a very talented football team. And I'm not going to be shocked if Alabama wins. I'm not going to be shocked if A&M wins. But, Graham, you mentioned it possibly turned into a shootout. That would absolutely jaw on floor shock me if that were the case this year. And I kind of want to break down the game a little bit. And then, Chase, I'm going to kick it to you because I feel like you got a good rant in you that I need to hear, that the audience needs to hear.
There we go.
With you being kind of in the thick and the mire of A&M fans daily. But I've talked all year about this Alabama defense under the tutelage of Kevin DeMarcus Steele and how good.
DeMarcus is a strong middle name for a guy that old.
This is pretty hard, ain't it?
Good grief.
So this defense has been elite all year. The only quarter they weren't elite was that Texas game where they gave up technically 21 points, but I only attribute 14 to them because Jalen Milroe gifted a 7-point touchdown to Texas by throwing a pick six, basically. They've been elite. They've been getting better is what's encouraging to me. The D-line, the pass rush has really come alive the past 3 games. I mean, Dallas Turner has 5.5 sacks now, leads the SEC. Chris Braswell has 3.5, and they're both pressuring the quarterback, even when they're not getting home, at a very high rate. You couple that with the inside linebacker growth that Alabama's had this year, with guys like Jahad Campbell really coming on the scene. Like Jimmy Stein has said it, so I want to give him credit, but I wholeheartedly agree. He's really good right now, and I don't know if it's going to be this year. I kind of have a feeling he's going to be a superstar at linebacker. Like, he had 14 tackles the other night and a pick. That hadn't happened from an Alabama linebacker since C.J. Mosley in 2013. That's how rare the performance he had on Saturday night was. Does that mean he was perfect? No. Does that mean that he got out of his gap, didn't fit the run properly a few times throughout the game? Sure, absolutely. He's still learning, but the potential is there. He's always around the ball. It's going to be really interesting to see if a guy like Deontay Lawson can return this week, because I think he is going to be paramount for this game with his sideline-to-sideline ability. And then what I think of this Alabama secondary. They have been locked down all season long. Kool-Aid's been great. Terrion has been, the way he has improved from this year to last, it's been an astronomical improvement. Very, very impressed with him. Then Malachi Moore is playing like a man possessed. through every game this year. Been really impressed with him. And then you got Key and Downs. Downs got his first pick of the year this past Saturday, the first of many for that young man. Also had 13 tackles as well. So I feel good about the Alabama defense matching up with A&M offense. Max Johnson, like you said, is a very efficient player. A lot of experience in the SEC. Has a little bit of moxie to him that I kind of like and respect. They've run the ball well with Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss. And then you know about their wideouts with Evan Stewart, Muhammad, and then Anaya Smith. But I feel like that's kind of a wash. Like I kind of feel like Alabama's secondary is going to be able to really limit their passing game. And not saying it's really hadn't been explosive even with Max Johnson in, but it's going to be key for Alabama to stop the run against A&M. And conversely, that is what A&M is going to try to do for Alabama. They're going to try to put the game on Jalen Milroe's shoulders, as they should if their defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, is smart. And I think he is a smart man. He's going to do everything he can to limit the Alabama run game. But here's what's going to be interesting. Can they limit and stymie the Alabama run game, which is what Alabama wants to do with just four guys, with just McKinley Jackson, Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner? That is what's going to be very, very interesting to watch kind of play out, because the front seven is the strength of that A&M defense. Where they're vulnerable is their back end. The problem is I don't, at this point, trust Jalen Milroe to exploit that vulnerability. It'd be like in Star Wars, you have the port on the Death Star where one shot goes through and we all go home, it blows up. And if Jalen Milroe was shooting the blaster, throwing the pass in the porthole, I don't know if he can hit it. And that's what's going to be really fascinating about this game is how does he respond in an environment like this? Does he continue to show improvement in the intermediate passing game? And Graham, you mentioned it. I think the main key is he going to take off and run and use his legs as a weapon? Because I had this epiphany during the game late on Saturday night. Fans have been clamoring for, we need to call read option with Jalen Milroe. We need to call read option with Jalen Milroe. We have. We have been. He simply does not pull the ball. When he needs to pull the ball, when the edge guy crashes down and he can pull it and take off, he doesn't. And the reason I say that, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Ty Simpson has played significantly less and played in garbage time. He has pulled it 3 times on read option, on like option type plays. That's as much, if not more, than Jalen Milroe has. So you're telling me that Tommy Rees is calling those plays for Ty Simpson, who is inferior with his running ability, and he's not calling it for Jalen Milroe, who is a far superior runner? I don't think so. I think Jalen Milroe is being a little hesitant pulling that football because he wants to be known as a pocket passer instead of using the gifts that God has given him to run like daylight. In this game, he's going to have to do that because that presents a numbers matchup in favor of Alabama when they have to account for him in the run game, both in traditional runs with the read option, but also as a passer, because like you said, Graham, if they have to spy him, that takes someone out in coverage and leaves you more vulnerable on the back end. So that matchup is going to be fascinating to watch. It's going to come down to the trenches. Can Alabama's offensive line match up with the defensive line for A&M, and vice versa the other way, A&M O-line versus the Alabama D-line and outside edge rushers and Dallas Turner Braswell? All that to say, I know that was a lot, but there's a lot to break down, and I think this is a really matchup-rich game. I think Alabama is going to win this game, but like you said, Graham, it's going to be close. Would not be shocked if it's a Will Reichard field goal, Mr. Dependable, Mr. Reliable, kicking a game-winning field goal to ice it late, because this is going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and I cannot wait to kind of see how Tommy Rees and Kevin DeMarcus Steele respond. So, Chase, I'll kind of leave it to you, man. Um, feel free to pick the game and feel free to kind of vent if you need to, man. This is a safe
Let my hair
space,
down
brother.
a little bit. Yeah, I was sitting here and I was really wondering if I go unfiltered. But I do like my current employer, and it's a faithful follower of Jesus Christ. I'm going to refrain.
This man was going to go X-rated on y'all.
This is, and you might have noticed if you're watching this, I've kind of taken more of a host role. More so, I think, honestly, to give you guys more time, because I do feel like you guys know this a lot more than I do. Like, you're at expert level, and I enjoy watch, but I think I've turned more into a casual that honestly enjoys listening to people like you tell me, like, kind of what to think and what to take away, what I should be looking for. And I love that. I look up to you guys for that. But you don't live in the great state of Texas, and I haven't my whole life. Fellas, there's a problem.
All right, Dion.
When we lost to UT, it wasn't just a simple loss. There's this now mantra mentality that everyone can be on the same level as Alabama. And this has happened over the past couple of years, but that loss to Texas not only showed that they are in a little bit, in a sense, back, but they think that they're on the same level as us. I was talking to a UT fan. He said, hey, hadn't got a chance to see you since the game. He patted me on the back, looked me straight in my eyes like we were on the same level. And I just, I'm like, this is what it feels like to just be a regular college football team, to not have that because we're Alabama, we're going to win this game.
A chink in the armor, some might say.
That's right. Scott Cochran leaving us. No, I'm not going to go there.
Don't you dare.
This guy said that he was pulling for, and this is what dude, just let me know where my heart set on this. He said he's pulling for Alabama. He's a UT fan. Said he's pulling for Alabama because he didn't want A&M to also beat Alabama so that A&M and UT would both feel like they're on the same level as Alabama, that they could beat Alabama in the same season. And fellas, that might not feel like a lot, but what I've seen is that some people feel like they're in the conversation. And when did we stop being the team? Like last year, we felt like Tennessee was in the conversation, and I'm going to just kind of paint this with a broad brush. I admit that. But when Tennessee played Georgia destroyed Tennessee. Like, we're not even in the same conversation type. We get up and play games like that. I would love to see Alabama get up and show A&M, like, you're not even in the same conversation. Like, what happened against UT, you caught us on an off year. We're putting some stuff together. But if you're catching us almost at the middle of the season, we've put it together.
Come on.
And I wish that I could sit here and say that I think we're going to do that. Here's the turn. No. I don't think we are.
He's doing your turn.
I don't want to be negative Nancy, but just truly, I don't have faith in Jalen Milroe that he can go in there and play the kind of game that it's going to demand to walk in there with this. We're going to maybe have this mentality on defense that you can't hang with us. But, man, A&M's got a really good defensive line. Really good. And I think, hey, they can hang. They're the good defensive line. I think that they are going to get after us. And what drives me stinking crazy is that Milroe will take a 4-yard loss and just not throw the ball away. And it's that like weird, like, why are we just giving 4 yards to the defense that then creates the 3rd and 10? And in games like this, I just feel like that's not we don't have that kind of margin. And that's what you guys like alluded to as well. Let me end by saying this. I don't think it gets ugly. I think that it's close. But I think that just at the end of the day, what has seemed to be true is that Milroe is just not the guy. He has to be the guy on this team. But in order for Alabama to show up to games like this, which we used to be the team that would show up and just dominate people that thought that they were even in the conversation, it's where I feel like we've taken the standard at quarterback and we've gone this direction. I think he's a great kid. I think that we're able to run the ball a little bit. Our only hope, this is actually the last thing. our only hope is, like you said, is it the read option? Is it that, hey, there's some things that we've been waiting to show because we knew that we're going to need them in games like this? And it might be that Milroe only throws the ball 15 to 20 times because he runs the ball like Jalen Hurts did whenever he played quarterback at Alabama. Like, we're not trying to throw. We're going to see if you can stop us. So, Hampton, I understand that what I said is not unpopular, and I don't want to say it, but that's just kind of where my heart is. But I can tell you that you can't get off this podcast just saying we're not chewing on that. Come on, I need walk me off the cliff a little bit. I'm on the cliff. Walk me back.
I think the point that you made about not trusting Milroe is a valid one. It's not being a hater. And I know there are a bunch of Alabama fans out there, they're like, if you criticize anything that Milroe does, you're a hater. I want Milroe to do well.
Yeah, same.
You think I enjoy watching him take unnecessary sacks or being inaccurate or not pulling the ball in a read option? You think I enjoy that? Absolutely not. And I don't think that we're waiting to unveil the QB run game with him because I've mentioned this before. He considers himself a pocket passer. I think he considers himself a pocket passer, and that is why there hadn't been as much QB run stuff as there was with a Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts at least knew what he was. And at least, you know what? Jalen Hurts used to drive me crazy, rolling right and throwing it out of bounds. I wish Jalen Milroe would do that. I'm down begging on my knees in my prayer time at night, asking Jalen Milroe to do that. Because every sack he took on Saturday was him holding on the ball too long. And with that all being said, I'm changing my pick because I'm going A&M too, and I'm not walking you off the plank. I'm joining with you. I'm pushing you in, and we're going down together because I hope I'm wrong. I've got to see him do it, and if he does it, it's going to be the storyline for the rest of the year, and I think the team can really rally behind him because he has made improvement. But has he improved enough to win this test? I'm not sure. And that's where I'll leave it. So I'm with you, Chase. I'm going A&M. I'm officially switching my pick.
And Hampton, I got to say, first of all, credit me because that was all me for flipping that pick. Great self.
That was.
No, I mean, truly, respect to you in the sense of I could tell when you said it, not that you didn't believe it. I know that you believed in your heart that Alabama was going to win that game. Like, it's going to win this game.
Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't sit here with a straight face and not like I feel like I'd just be talking halfway on the half on the side of my mouth, half side of my mouth, saying that Alabama was going to win this game. And I'm not trying to even create clickbait. I'm just saying this is the litmus test. I just simply don't think that we pass it. We're a good team, but we're just not a great team. These are the kind of matchups when you're playing this game away. I mean, then you look back to last year and we barely beat them and they were worse than us. And I would say that our team was a little bit more established, at least on the offensive side. So we could go, it sounds there's a part of me that wants to just keep talking about this for 2 hours because I think I'm still processing. I don't think I'll change my pick. But fellas, I'm hoping that there's a rabbit in the hat. Like truly, that's what I feel like it's going to take because what I see right now, I just feel like A&M's going to get after us. He hasn't proven that he can pass the ball well enough to win this game. But man, I hope that I'm wrong, and I'll be willing to suffer the consequences. I'll celebrate the consequences if we're wrong. But Graham, last chance. You locking it in or you switching over?
Deal or no deal?
I just want to point back to 2 weeks ago. Hampton picked Ole Miss to win, and it was the end of the Saban era. And Alabama showed up and played very well. I appreciate that, Hampton. I appreciate you doing it again this week, guaranteeing Alabama to win.
I'm falling on the sword. I do what I can for the Tide.
You know what? Give me Alabama. Like I said by 3 earlier, some of us don't change when the wind changes. I'm going to stick where I'm rooted, and my foundation is that Alabama's going to win by 3.
Like it.
Let them preach.
Yeah. Here's the last thing I'll say. There's some people in this podcast that are the flag. They go where the wind goes. and there's some people here that are the flagpole. and it's always there. It always is there.
Well, I love it.
Beautiful
Hey,
way
this
to end
is
it.
going to be a really fun podcast to recap. So next week, guys,
Yeah.
I mean, bro, this is coming out on Thursday. Grateful that you listened all the way through. We didn't know that. And you guys hear me? I'm not sure.
It
I
is
can
going to
see
be a
that you're
fun
frozen.
podcast to recap for next
Can you
week.
hear me, Graham?
And I believe Chase is frozen up.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now,
Sorry
buddy.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just should have closed it out earlier. I was just going to say this is going to be a really fun podcast to recap. And Phil, thank you for listening all the way through. I think things got interesting
Absolutely.
at the end, so that's why you listen all the way through our episodes. But this episode will come out on Thursday, which means that the next time you'll hear from us will be on Tuesday. So please listen in, check us out. I know there's a few of us that hope that we're wrong on some of these picks, but I will say we've got a great track record. So that's the tension that we live in. So, hey, the Pigskin Cafe is going to be closed for now, but until Tuesday, chew on that and enjoy some college football this weekend. A&M versus Bama, going to be one for the ages.